Okay, so now we're going to go over some options within the flex offense. So these are options that you can use within your flex. You can use them as individual plays. We're also going to use these to show why I love the flex offense so much. Now, it's important to note that a flex cut in basketball involves cutting across the key. So that's really what we're going to be focusing on here with the flex offense is an offense that is focused on a particular cut across the key. So this is our first option right here, and this is an option that I've run with just about every age group, right? So you can do this with older age groups. If you want to give a younger age group a more complicated play, that can work as well. So we're going to have the basketball up here. Number one is going to be the point guard in this situation. So we're going to have number three as the player participating in our flex cut here. So for this particular option, our first step is that we want to get the ball into number two or number four. So one of these players at the initial one pass away wing. Okay, so they need to find a way to get open. Let's say, maybe they cut in and out of the key or something like that. Which side it goes to, it doesn't really matter too much. But let's say for the sake of this one, we get the ball over there to number four. Okay, as that is happening, number five is going to set a screen for number one. Okay, so number one is coming off of that screen. Remember, number five is going to be here setting it. Okay, so when number one comes off that screen, they're going to cut to the rim and look for the basketball. And this is just kind of an early option to see if we have it. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. But it is an early option. It's not necessarily our main option. Now, number five, after they set that screen, they're going to try to get open as best as they can. You kind of just pop up to the three-point line, be about right here, and receive the basketball. So number four, if they can't get the ball into number one for that early pass, which is, again, not the main pass that we want in this play. We'll show you the main pass in a minute. But if they can't get the ball into number one, they'll reset the ball over to number five. Now, number five would ideally be a post player or, one of your bigger players if, you have a passing big or a big who can pass the ball, because we want to bring number five's player outside of the key a little bit, or number five's defender, rather. So now we're reset. Now, what does number one do? Now, the whole point of that number one screen right here is, yes, to see if we can get the ball, but number one is actually going to set another screen. So number one is going to continue moving over here to where number three is, and number one is going to set a hard screen here for number three. So number three right now is getting screened on by number one. Now, number three is coming off of that screen, and this is where their flex cut happens. So number three is then cutting hard to the rim for their flex cut. We're going to try to get the ball into number three. So between your option there for number one, who is doing that initial cut, or number three, who is looking at this flex cut right here, you're going to have two easy options around the rim. If they're not wide open options, for example, if this right here is not a wide open option, it's going to be a switch. Right? And you're probably going to get a bit of a mismatch there, which is what we want. So two easy options there. Let's kind of go over them again and reset and bring the ball up top here to number one. So number one, like I said, is our point guard. Number five is our post player. Number three is somebody you trust to get down here and post up. What I'll often do is if I'm ever playing two bigs at once, I'll put one of my bigs here, one of my bigs down here, and then that way, we can get somebody in the post that we can trust to make that layup. So let's look at it again, right? Need to get open one of our wings. Ideally, we're going to this side of the floor. As that is happening, number five is coming up to set that screen for number one. Number one is coming off that screen. All right, and we're just going to look to see if we can get number one the basketball. But if we can't, it's not the end of the world, because number one is going to continue moving to set a screen here for number three. Number three then is coming off that screen. They're doing their flex cut. We're resetting the basketball as that happens, and then we're looking hard for number three under the rim. Now, another great thing about a flex is if number three even can't get the basketball, then we can go into more of a five-out motion offense, right? They can continue then moving, right? Then they're outside of the three-point line. Again, we had to think right now number five would have the basketball. They can easily then just bring a dribble handoff over here or a dribble handoff over here. Then we're into another pick and roll, right? That's how I like to brand things. If this doesn't work, what can number five do, right? Let's go to the opposite side of the floor right now. We're going to bring the basketball over here, right? This is a handoff with a screen, right? Number two gets the basketball, right? And number two is cutting hard to the basket. There's so many different options now. You're in your five out if that doesn't work, right? So, we rave about the five out and we love the five out, obviously, as coaches. But we can run a flex offense, and if that doesn't work, then we transition into a 5-out. But this first play is one that I've seen lots of NBA teams use, but I've also used it at the youth level as well and at the high school level, and it's been very, very successful. All right, so I wanted to take a little bit of time here to talk about the Miami Heat wheel offense that Coach Eric Spoelstra has been running with the Miami Heat. And, it's been used quite recently, actually, with other teams in the NBA as well. And they've seen a lot of success with that, particularly Memphis Grizzlies last season in the 2024-2025 season. But it's really become popular this past year with the Miami Heat. And Eric Spoelstra is really running this offense and playing, consistently good basketball, a really motion style of basketball, read and react offense with a team with no stars. And when you're doing this with a team that has no stars, it's usually a good sign that the offense works. It's not just the team playing well, but it's the offense that is working. And it's gained a lot of attention within the media and American media, particularly recently with LeBron James and Steve Nash discussing the offense, and how interesting it is and how it seems to be working for the Miami Heat. So let's take a look at what exactly the Miami Heat are running on the offensive end and how this wheel style of offense, not your traditional wheel offense, but this wheel style of offense does work. Okay, so the first thing that we want to talk about is what the Miami Heat do. What are the principles of this offense? There's two main principles. Okay, number one is we're going to play fast. Okay, and number two is we want to attack the paint. Okay, there's a little to no screens involved in the Miami Heat offense. It's just continuous movement, it's just continuous cutting, and it's playing fast. So they want to attack the paint, but it's not just attacking the paint on the ball, it's also cutting. Okay, those are the two key principles. Now, in terms of our 5-out, right, we want to play with pace and space. Obviously, that's what the Miami Heat do. But a big key is that what they will do is drive on one side of the floor and everybody else is cutting toward that same side of the floor. Okay, so they're not running your traditional 5-out where, maybe you're cutting off the ball and, moving to the other side of the floor. They're moving with the basketball. So if we had the ball here in our point guard's hands and our point guard drives into the key right here, right, with the elbows open, you're going to see everybody else actually rotate in that same direction. Right, so we would have number 2 cut this way as well, right? And everybody else would follow. Number 3 would go to that same side. Number 5 would move up here as well. Number 4 would move up, and then number 2 is going to continue cutting, right? So that, style of offense right here, that's kind of what they're consistently doing is everybody's moving toward that same side, right? Then say, they needed to kick it out, they could kick it out. They could kick it out. They could kick it out, right? They kicked it out here to that same side. Everybody's just going to continue flowing, right? One thing you'll see happen a lot is if the ball is up top right here, right, and we see a drive, right, you will see everybody cut that same way again. So let's say we have a drive right here, right? You're going to see everybody cut that way. Number 1 will cut to the basket and look for the basketball. Number 2 will fill a spot. Number 4 will move as well. Number 3 will move. And then number 1, again, continuously moving. One interesting thing that you'll see here is that, typically in the event that, we were to get a drive in the paint, let's kind of reset everybody out of here right now. Let's say 1 is up top, 2 is over here, right? Number 3 is over here, number 4, and number 5. Okay. So say typically, if we were to get, a drive to the paint right here, you're going to have the defender for number 4, the defender for number 5, potentially cheat off of their player a little bit to try to fill that gap, right? You're probably going to see that. Because this offense includes such a wheel, right, you can't really have anybody cheat off their player to fill the gap, right? Because what's going to happen here is, again, number 4 is going to cut, number 3 is going to cut, number 5 is going to cut, right? So if number 4's defender right here, right, was to kind of focus on filling that gap, they really can't because they need to then follow their player over as they're cutting. Same thing with number 5, right? If number 4 was back here, number 5 was over here, right, and you wanted to have a defender kind of move in to fill the gap a little bit on a help, you can't really do that anymore because number 5 is now cutting up top and, they're going to be a threat potentially for a 3-point shot. right? So again, it's that wheel style of basketball. It's a very interesting style of basketball. It's a wheel, but everybody is consistently moving. Hold on one quick second, coaches. Before you go anywhere, I've got a couple free resources waiting for you from the Basketball Coaches Academy that'll take your practices and take your teams to the next level. First off, grab your complete guide to the continuous motion offense, which breaks down exactly how to teach your players to play the game, not just run plays. You'll learn what continuous motion offense really means, proven drills to build it, and how to run a motion offense continuously. We have lots of different things in this guide. We have video demonstrations, we have diagrams, we have descriptions, everything that you would need. If you want your athletes to develop real basketball IQ, this is the starting point. The second item that I have for you is the 5 must-have out-of-bounds plays for all ages. These are game-tested sets that you can run with youth or high school teams. We have baseline out of bounds, we have sideline out of bounds, all free for you. They're simple to teach, tough to guard, and each play includes clear diagrams and coaching points so your team stops wasting possessions. And lastly, I have the practice plan template. This printable practice plan template is the exact layout that I use to organize and plan every practice session. So you can plug in your warm-ups, skill blocks, team drills, and scrimmage notes so you can walk into every gym with a clear plan and zero guesswork. So I have these 3 free items for you. You can claim them using the link in the description. They'll be sent to you right away. Enjoy. All right, let's take a look at this continuous style 4 out, 1 in motion offense. Okay, so as you can see here, we have our players set up in a 4 out, 1 in, meaning that all 4 players here are outside the 3-point line, and then 1 player here is inside the 3-point line. Okay, this is a play you'll often see run in the NBA. The Golden State Warriors often run this type of 4 out offense here, 4 out, 1 in. And it's really good because, again, it gets you involved in a continuous motion offense, right? So let's take a look at it. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to get the ball inside to our 1 in player so they can kind of post up, right? If they need to push off a little bit, they can. But we just want to get a little entry pass here into our post player, okay? As that is happening, we then want to get the ball over here to the corner. So we need that person to get open. Now, if they need to come up a little bit, they can, but in an ideal world, they're going to cut inside the key and outside the key, right, to get the ball back over here to number 2. Now, with that said, if we need to skip the step into that first entry pass, we can. So if we just, need to get the ball over here to number 2 in some way, we can, right? I personally like the entry pass because, it kind of slows things down a little bit, and then we move fast after that, which I'll kind of go into in a second. But again, if you just want to get the ball over here, that is an option as well, okay? So let's say we get that first entry pass. We're kind of slowing things down before we speed things up, right? This player kind of cuts in and out. We're going to feed it to them over there, right? What we're going to have next is a screen being set from number 5 to number 1. So number 1 is going to kind of cut down here, right? And then number 5 is going to set a screen for them to come back up to the 3-point line over here, okay? So again, number 5 is kind of setting that first screen here for number 1. And when that happens, number 1 is going to sprint and curl right here, okay? So they're going to sprint and curl. So that right there, if we have our point guard being, a better 3-point shooter on our team, right, that's, an immediate 3-point shot right there if we can get it, okay? If we can't get that shot, right, if we can't get that, immediate shot right there, right after number 5 screens for number 1 to come up, right? So number 5 sets that screen. Number 5 is going to roll to the basket, right? So as we can see right here, option, right? We have that option off of that cut. So we can either get it to number 1 for a 3-point shot, or we can get it over here to number 5 for a cut. Okay, if that doesn't work, number 5 is going to continue moving, and everybody else is going to come up and fill a spot. Okay, so now if we want to swing the ball up top, right, we are now reset into that same 5 out motion offense setting. Number 2 can sprint over here if they need to, if you want to get into a different play. But otherwise, we're in the exact same type of play right now. If we want to get there or if we want to switch it up, we can. But if we want to go back into it, it's the same thing. Number 4, right, will come off that screen here. Boom, pop up top. Number 5 rolls to the basket. Maybe we can get them on the cut the second time. Right, so this is a play that the Golden State Warriors often use. Now, a good thing about this play is that it is continuous. You can continuously run through this play, but you can also, if you want to switch it up after the first possession, you can as well. So if you want to go maybe into a 5 out after that, you can. Right, say you can't, maybe get that cut here to number 5, right, and you want everybody else to kind of come up and fill a spot, you can then go into some sort of 5 out motion offense. Or if you want to keep number 5 down here in the dunker spot, right, and you want to maybe try driving to the seeing if you can get an opportunity there to kick it off to a dunker or outside to a shooter, you can as well, right? So there are multiple options in this play, right? You can just continuously run the 4 out, 1 in, or you can switch it up into a 5 out after maybe it works or doesn't work the first time, or into a different 4 out, 1 in offensive play. So it's really continuous and really flexible in terms of what you want to add in there. Personally, I like it as a first option and then to kind of switch it up after that, just to kind of keep the defense on their toes, not running the same thing over and over and over again. But I personally think it's a great way to start your possession because so many people are going to be focused on that shooter coming off of the first screen that they're not really paying attention to that roll, that hard cut to the basket for a 1 in. And I often get that layup almost every time. Okay, so let's take a look at this first Horns offensive basketball set. Now, this one's going to give us a few different options. It's going to get our players continuously moving. So you're not just going to have one option to the basket or one option for a shot. You're going to have somebody curling open for an outside jump shot, but you're also going to have a pick and roll come from this as well. So let's take a look at it. So we're going to start here with the ball, obviously, in the hands of our point guard. Then we have our 2 players setting up in a horn style offense at the elbow of the key. Now, this player here, number 3, you're going to want that player to be a shooter, someone that you can get open for the basketball, because that player is going to be curling for an outside shot. So the first thing that we're going to have here is number 4, and they're going to come up and set a little decoy screen here on number 1. So this screen is not really super effective in the play, but it's just kind of something to get things started so it's not super predictable. So we have that first screen being set here from number 1. Now, if number 1 comes off that screen and they, for some reason get a wide open lane to the basket, or if they, get the opportunity to pull up there at the 3-point line, they can take that, but this is not really a huge part of the play. Now, what's going to happen immediately after 4 sets that screen is they're going to go set another screen down here for that other player set up at the elbow, number 5. And number 5 is going to come off that screen, and they are setting another screen here for our point guard. So a lot of screens being set to start things off. So number 5, like I said, is sending another screen right here for our point guard. Our point guard is coming off that screen with the basketball. Right? So number 1 obviously has the basketball. They're coming off that screen. So now we have the opportunity here for a pick and roll between number 1 and number 5. But as that is happening, number 4 is going to go immediately set another screen here for number 3, and number 3 is going to curl. So we have that pick and roll to the basket now between number 5 and number 1, but we also have, if the defense is collapsed or the defense collapses for some reason, we'll have number 3 out here to kick it out to as well for an outside 3-point shot. So multiple different options here within this horn set. Let's take a look at it one more time and run through it pretty quick. So we'll reset at the ball up top in our point guard's hands, and we have number 3 here in the corner, ready to shoot the basketball. So it starts, we're going to have that screen being set right here for number 5. This is a decoy screen. Like I said, can we have a lane to the basket? Can we look for it? Yeah. Are we probably going to get it? Most likely not. But then number 5 is immediately going to go set another screen for number 4. Okay, as that is happening, number 4 is going to come set a screen here for the point guard. So the point guard's moving a little bit more toward the middle again. So we have that screen being set right here. Okay, then this player is going down and setting a screen for number 3. Number 3 is curling to the basket as number 1 and number 4 run a pick and roll. So we can potentially get an outside 3-point shot here for number 3, or a wide open lane for either our point guard or our roller in number 4. Okay, so first we'll actually take a look at this 5-out motion offense. Now, what we want to enforce here in this motion offense is to never stand still, right? We're talking to our youth teams about never standing in one particular spot. We always want to get moving, right? We're also going to be looking at a lot of passing cuts here, a lot of down screens. We just want the athletes to get moving and fill a particular spot. So obviously, with the 5-out, we want to fill 5 spots on the basketball floor, and we want to keep things very spacious for the players, right? Especially if we're talking about youth basketball teams. So we want to try to get everybody outside the 3-point line in their own spot. Now, right here we have the numbers 4, 3, 1, 2, 5. The numbers don't really matter too much, right? That's the whole point of this 5-out offense, is that we want to enforce positionless basketball. So, step one with the 5-out motion offense, we need to get some sort of movement, right? What can we get going? So, there's a few options. One, we can do some sort of cut, or two, we can get a down screen going. So, what I like to do with my teams, I like to give my teams the freedom to choose. As long as you do something, either one of those movements, that's fine, right? So obviously, let's start with our cutting situation first. So we can look at getting a little V cut going inside the key and out to get open. That's an easy solution. We can also, look to cut to the basket, right? And if we don't receive that pass, we're going to continue cutting and fill a different spot. That's another option that we can do as well. Those are two kind of easy cuts that we can do to get open. Additionally, we can look at screening, like I mentioned, right? So we can go down screen for somebody else to come up and get open, right? So these two players, number 3 and number 2, the players that are closest to the basketball, you need to get some sort of movement going, whether that's a cut or a screen, we need to move. Okay, so for the sake of this, let's say we get some sort of cut, maybe a little V cut into the key and out to get open, right? Number 3 is doing the same thing. Okay, so let's say number 1, to keep it on the right side of the floor, gets number 2 open. Okay, so the ball goes to number 2. Well, now it's on number 1. Number 1 just got rid of the basketball. Now it's on them to initiate some sort of movement. So what we want to enforce is a cut to the basket or a screen away. Same type of thing, screen or cut. Now, number 1 option that we want to look for, though, is a cut. So let's talk about that one first. So number 1 is going to cut and look for the basket. What we like to enforce with our youth players is to get a foot on the key, right? At least 1 foot on the key so we can cut to the basket. We're going to continue cutting, right? If we can get the ball into number 1 for a little give and go, that would be great. A little pass and cut, feed it off to number 1. But for the sake of a motion offense, let's say that doesn't happen, right? So number 1 is going to cut and look for the basketball. They didn't get the basketball, so they're going to fill the far side. That means everybody then has to move up a spot, right? We move up a spot. Now the ball, number 3, is going to reset the basketball. And now we're in the exact same situation. We need to get a pass or a cut. So let's say right now we're in that new situation. Maybe this time we're going to screen. So in this situation, we're going to get number 4 and number 2 to go down screen, for the players closest to the baseline. And those players are going to come up and receive the basketball. So now we're in that 5-out again, but everybody has just moved positions. We won't get these players so high. Right now, what we always try to enforce is, as well as swing the basketball to the other side of the floor. So let's get the ball on the other side of the floor. But now the same situation happens. We need to cut to look for that basketball. So everybody is going to fill a spot. Right, everybody's going to fill a spot. Now we're reset again. All right, let's get the ball up top. We're back into our 5-out. So what we really want to look for here is, we never want to stand still in one particular spot, especially once we get rid of the basketball, right? When we pass the basketball to somebody else, we need to get the ball out of our hands, right? That's what we are enforcing here with our players, is never keep the basketball in your hands, right? So let's kind of run through this now a little bit quicker. All right, we need to make sure we're not standing still. So we need a V cut, we need something, a cut to the basket, we need something to get the ball. Right, so let's say we get a little quick cut right here. Number 2 is doing the same thing and move the ball to one side of the floor. Number 5 is looking for that pass. If they don't get it, everybody's filling up a spot. Right, what we want to do right here then is now swing the basketball, right? So if we can find a way to get, maybe number 3 is open, we can just swing it on to them. But if not, we need to find a way to get somebody else open. Again, we either V cut or we down screen. Let's say in this situation, we down screen, right? We down screen, and we swing that basketball. Right now, same thing. We're going to cut to the ball. We're going to look for it. And let's say maybe in this situation, we get the basketball, right? And we get that pass on the cut and we get a wide open layup. Right. So, what I'll do with you teams here is we will run this continuously without scoring the basketball. So, say I have a team of 10 players, I'll put 5 players on one half of the floor, 5 players on the other half of the floor, and they will continuously be running this 5-out motion offense. Right. Then maybe say after about 2 minutes, I will blow the whistle. And when I blow the whistle, that basically means that when we cut off of that pass, we will then pass the ball back to the cutter, and the cutter can then finish for a layup, right? So we don't want to always, give it back to the cutter when we do this. When we run this 5-out offense in practice without a defense there, we want to get these athletes moving and working on the continuous movement of a 5-out. Again, every now and then we'll blow the whistle. What the whistle means is that you can now score off of that pass. You can give the ball back to the cutter, and then, like I said, we can score the basketball. So, is this a particular play that's going to result in, an easy basket, a quick basket? No. What this is 4 players, to learn the spacing of the basketball, how to space on the floor, how to fill a position, right? Because we want to fill one of those 5 spots. But it's also talking about, and it's also enforcing continuous movement, right? We never want to stand still. And when we're talking about youth basketball teams, that's a huge habit that they have, is standing still on the floor, not knowing when or how to move. So this simple, basic 5-out offense, will achieve all of those things and start teaching your athletes the basic things that they need to learn how to play in an offensive system.